yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Hey there friends, how's it going today? David Potts with Song Notes here, and today we're looking at Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, an all-time classic of a song if there was one. So here's the deal, there's tons and tons of versions of this song. I've watched a bunch of lessons online, I've listened to a bunch of recorded versions from my favorite artists, and I've put together a key of G version, right? It's going to use simplified chords wherever I can, but it's still going to hang on to the sort of magical quality of the arrangement that this song has, right? So you'll get your foot in the door with this version. If you want to get fancy with the finger style or jazz or chord voicings, you can add your own on top of what I'm showing, but this will give you that foundation you can build upon, okay? So let's zoom in and have some fun with this one. As usual, we'll get the good stuff, my practice notes, a few play-along covers, a separate video looking at the melody notes, all on my website, songnotes.net. All right, so let's zoom on in here and look at this first line of the song, right? Now, the important part about this is this G to the E minor, to the A minor 7, to the D7, this 4-chord sequence is used, it's played twice at the beginning of every verse, and it's going to come up later in the bridge and all that stuff as well. So you learn this sequence of chords once, and it's going to be used throughout the song. You're going to get halfway there, basically, right? Okay, so the first 4 chords, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going to repeat that. It's literally played twice at the beginning of every verse. I'm doing a single strum here, right? You could sing it. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. Okay, we're going to use this single strum approach at first as we learn all the chords, and then later on I'll show you some strumming tips to sort of level things up in a way that still sounds chill enough for this song, right? We don't want to overdo it with this song. Let's look at this next line now. This is where we're going to use a few more chords, but none of them are too difficult. So looking at this, we're going to start off the exact same way, right? Remember how I said these 4 chords are going to get lots of use, right? From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. When we sing sight, we're going to switch to a B7 chord. Now, before we switch to the B7, look at my fingers right here. I'm still on the D7. Okay, here's a little tip. When you're switching from a D7 to a B7, all you're doing is moving these 3 fingers in this exact formation. You're just sort of moving them, 4 strings over? Maybe it's 3 strings, I can't count. But basically, it's this pattern of middle and ring are on the 2nd fret and index is in between them on the 1st fret. You're going to do that exact thing for the B7 and then put your pinky down on the thinnest string, right? So this is one chord transition you might need to practice, right? Get my practice notes, just study this. You can, while you're watching TV on the couch or whatever, just go through this a few times. The more you spend time with it, your fingers will sort of get the idea, and you'll find it easier and easier the more you practice, okay? So let's get back to where we were for the second line. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight, okay? And then we're going to go to this E7. Now, from B7 to E7, we're going to keep our middle finger exactly where it is. We're just going to move this finger to the 3rd string, 1st fret. Play that E7, okay? Then we have an A7. And then end with that D7 again, okay? So we have lots of chord changes here, but the next thing I show you a little bit later where I talk about the bass note strumming, that's actually going to buy us some time. And it's going to make these chord changes easier. So if these chord changes are giving you trouble now, don't sweat it. Just worry about learning these chord shapes and being able to get through this progression in order. And I'll talk about sort of getting through it smoothly a little bit later, right? But let's look at the second verse here and keep on learning this little song here. So verse number 2, it starts off the exact same way, right? Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. Okay, now, the second and third verse are going to end with this line here. Check this out. It's mostly the same chords. There's just one new one we're going to have to do. It starts off with the first 3 chords are the same, right? Next year, all our troubles will be... Now here we're going to go to the B7 a little bit earlier. We're going to go to it as the 4th chord. We'll be miles away. Stay on E minor for one whole measure. And then we're going to go to this G and then a G7. Okay, now you see my finger notes here. See how I have my left ring on the 6th string? I'm muting the 5th string, and I have my pinky on the 3rd fret for the G. The reason that we're muting it, it just makes it easier. It's one less finger to worry about, right? You can play this if you want, but the most important part is you want to have your index finger playing this 1st fret on the thinnest string for the G7. That's going to sort of build up the tension as we move into the bridge, which starts with a C major 7 chord. So that second line, that second verse altogether would sound like this, right? Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. Next year all our troubles will be miles away. Then to the G and G7. Okay, and then we go into the bridge. The bridge is going to start with this beautiful sounding chord. It's a C major 7. Okay, it sounds fancy, but it's actually way easier to play than a regular C because you don't even need to worry about that 2nd string note, right? So it's 3rd fret, 2nd fret, open, open, open. Okay, let me play through this first line for you, right? So, once again, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Okay, so this one is a bit tricky. This is the last bit of tricky chords for the entire song here. So the C major 7, pretty approachable. We're going to stay on that for one full measure. Then we go to this B minor 7. Now you might think B minor 7, if you can play a regular B minor, or you can play, take off your pinky and play a 2nd, 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd. You can do this if you want. But I have this version here, which is an open version of B minor 7. It's just 2nd, open, 2nd, open, 2nd. Okay, it takes a little bit to get your fingers used to this chord shape as far as switching to it, but once you learn it, you can use this in all types of songs. So I recommend checking it out, right? Trying it out here. It works really well. C major 7 to B minor 7. Okay, then we do our common character, familiar face chords of A minor 7 to a D7. And then here we have this G major 7. Now I'm going to say off the top, you can just use a regular G and it's going to work just fine. Okay? But if you're able to, 3rd muted, open, 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 2nd. Okay? This has that same wistful, longing vibe as this C major 7. Okay? It's not quite perfectly standing up straight, bright and happy. There's a little bit of wistful, I think I said that already, wistful longingness. I should get a thesaurus and learn some new words, but that's what we're going to use here. Again, you can use a regular G if this is giving you trouble, okay? But if you're able to, this note, this F sharp note, this is the note that he's singing right here, right? So the lyrics would be, once again as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Okay, bridge line 2. There's only one new tricky chord here, but it's not that bad, right? Check it out. Faithful friends who are dear to us will be near to us once more. So we're going to start off on an E minor, okay? And then this is the last chord we have to learn, the new one. This is an F sharp 7, okay? Normally, F sharp is played like this, and an F sharp 7 is like this. But it just so happens that that flat 7th, which makes this an F sharp 7, for that chord is an E note. And E is the open E string, so we can just play, right? 4th, 3rd, 2nd, open. That's a F sharp 7, totally valid to play. If you want, you can add the 5th string, 4th fret, right? In case you have this sort of chord voicing memorized, which I use this for the F all the time. You could use it if you move the fingers one string thinner each for a B minor. But again, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, open. The thinnest 3 or 4 strings are what's the most important. Okay, then we go to the B minor 7 again, and then an A7, and then the D7, okay? So we're just sort of vibing on the 7th chords a lot there. Let me play for you the entire bridge, and then we're almost done with this song, okay? So, once again, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. faithful friends who are dear to us will be near to us once more. And we go to the third verse. Now the third verse starts exactly the same as the first two verses, right? Someday soon we all will be together if the fates allow. Until then we'll have to muddle through somehow. Then to a G and G7 and the final line here. It's all stuff we've already learned. That C major 7. So have yourself a merry little Christmas now. And we end it on a G chord. Now, if you want to sort of extend the ending and make it a bit more of a groove without singing, you just want to repeat the first 4 chords in the verse, right? Remember that G, E minor, A minor 7, D7. Okay, so if I did the ending and I added that on as a sort of repeating thing, it'd be, so have yourself a merry little Christmas now. And you could repeat this a few times, and you could whistle or hum a solo or just vibe out to this, right? And when you're all done and you want to bring it home and park the car or put it in park and turn off the key, you just strum a G chord. And you're good to go. Okay, I think actually ending it with a G major 7 is a nice way to end it. It's that sort of a little bit jazzier, but it's also a little bit of that wistfulness that I think is appropriate for the vibe of this song. Okay, so that's how to play each section of this song. Let me talk about, though, how to strum it. I want to talk about this bass note strumming approach. Right now, I have, before I get to this, on my website, I have a playthrough using the single strum version I just showed you, from beginning to end, no talking, with tabs on screen. And I also have a separate video playthrough of the bass note strum I'm about to show you. And that way you can reference those videos, right? It takes more than the 10 minutes of this lesson to learn a song, right? You want to have those reference videos. Those are over there for you to practice on. I have my practice notes as well. And I have a separate video looking at the melody notes for the entire song. If you, like me, can use some help having some notes to reference for the pitch that you're supposed to hit with your voice, right? So that's all over at songnotes.net. Check it out, y'all. I have a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of other Christmas lessons as well that you can sort of get down with. But let's look at how to strum this one using this bass note strumming. So what bass note strumming is you pluck the bass note of your chord, right, the thickest string that belongs to that chord, and then you do a strum of the full chord, or you could just do the thinnest, 3, 4, 5 strings of that chord. You don't need to get all 6 strings necessarily. But you do bass note, strum, bass note, strum, bass note, strum. It's a nice way to kind of, give the bass note its own time to shine. It also buys you time. It sort of lets you get your fingers in place before that full strum, right? So it's a nice way to sort of almost be lazier and sound better. And that's kind of like two good things in a certain sense, right? So here's what it looks like on screen. The bass notes are all highlighted with blue just to make them easy for your eye to see. It's the same exact chords I've already taught you here, right? So, have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Da-dee, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, dee-da-dum, bum-bum, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Right, so that's basically the approach of the bass note strumming that'll work really well. If you want, you could, I was doing a bass down, bass down, bass down. But if you want, you can add up strum brushes between all those down strums, right? So that would sound like this. Bass up, down, up, 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 bass up, down, right? Keep it nice and brushy though. With this song, it's all about a low-key sort of vibe. I do not like playing this one with a pick personally, just because this sounds kind of harsh. It doesn't sound bad, but there's a sharp, not a sharpness, I don't want to use that word. There's a very, it makes the notes of the strings being played a bit more harsh and loud and bright and clear. And I think this song can just demonstrate from like, I think of this song about just gratitude, being with your family, your loved ones, the hope, the expectation of being with them again next year, and the sort of the preemptive longing that it hints to and it talks about next year. And I think something about playing with it without a pick makes it feel very humble in a good way. That's my approach at least. But whether you use a pick or not, it doesn't matter. I just like to do no pick. I like to do the bass up, down, up, bass up, down, up, bass up, down, up, bass up, down, up. You're also going to find that I'm not really personally doing the thinnest string is not getting too much emphasis, too much accent. I'm kind of keeping it in the second, third, fourth string as my sweet spot. I will play the thinnest string. It's just not going to be bright. Here's what it would sound like if I was really embracing that thinnest string. I'm being a bit dramatic here, but have yourself a merry little Christmas. Okay? Maybe it's because I have a deeper voice. I like to sort of not give it anything too high in pitch with my guitar. I don't want to outcompete my voice. I want the guitar to really be a low-key set decoration behind my voice, which quietly has a spotlight in front of the stage. So those are the strumming tips I have. Again, playthroughs on my website for zoomed in with tabs for the single strum version and the bass note strum version. What I'm going to do now, though, is play this out with the lyrics on screen so you can sort of come along with me if you want. Just use whatever strum you like, or sing along if you like. If you want to sing better than me, I'm going to do my best though. And I'll check out my website, songnotes.net, for all the good stuff. And I'll see you there, my friends. Thanks for watching, and let's have ourselves a merry little Christmas. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. Next year all our troubles will be miles away. Once again as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us will be near to us once more. Someday soon we all will be together, if the fates allow. Until then we'll have to muddle through somehow. So have yourself a merry little Christmas now.